I'm turned strongman at the Ranki. Thank you for selecting this video on social affiliations. Before I continue, it bothers me that maybe you haven't yet subscribed to this channel. Why? Because doing so is in your own best interests. I feel pretty sure about that. And while you're at it, which I ask that you just go ahead and do right now, while you're at it, go ahead and activate the notification bell feature. And if you like this video, by the time it's all done, said and done, then give it a thumb up so that I know you liked it. And share the joy of the channel with others. Now, with those humbling requests having been humbly uttered, let's move on. Social affiliations. Many of us belong to some group, club, organization, secret society, any such thing. Now, sometimes, in many cases, our affiliations, our social group affiliations, become so strong for us, for some people, that people begin to identify with those affiliations. Here's an example, an extreme example. I saw a movie trailer for, what movie? Top Gun Maverick. I guess the lead role actor, well, they showed him saying, I guess, coming across with the main point of the movie, or something that's supposed to get your attention so you want to see the movie. He says, being a fighter jet pilot is not what I do. It is who I am. Well, okay. Well, that's the kind of thing I mean by coming to identify with a certain group. Well, that's rather limiting, isn't it? Okay. Having certain group affiliations can serve your upward mobility in society. There is some benefit to such group affiliations. That would be one benefit. Another one is to be around people with similar interests as yours. I think that it is beneficial. If you have a hobby, and you find other people with the same hobby, or a very similar hobby, or a hobby that falls into the same category, like let's say you like to go out to your shed in the evenings and cobble around with making clay sculptures. And you find in your local area maybe one other person who does the same thing, and then somebody else who likes to sculpt with, a chisel and some rocks. And you find somebody else who likes to dabble with fine art painting. And another sketch artist. Things like this, they all belong to the same category. This can be encouraging to you, motivating. You can get, opinions from the others. You can have little social meetings and so forth. This is all right. Sure. And if you want to join a group, such as the Freemasons, simply because it can be considered that, people of local influence, and perhaps of some authority in the local area. You want to rub elbows with them. Maybe they can be useful to your own social advance throughout your life. Maybe you can become mayor a little bit more easily if you're rubbing elbows and developing rapport and developing a good reputation with people of similar social status this way. Okay, if that's the reason why you're doing it, okay. All right? But don't identify with it. Don't let this define who you believe you are. All right? And try not to fall too much in step with the overall belief systems of that group. Be your own person. You can belong to the group, but be your own person. Don't let the group tell you what to think and what to believe. What is fact versus fiction. What the facts of the world are. Be your own person with those things. You don't have to voice your opinion about all such matters to the group. When you're with the group, participate in the group thought matrix. But don't fall into step with it. It's better if you're not interested in upward mobility. Perhaps you have already achieved that by getting your own PhD in something. You know, you have the income you want, let's say. You have achieved the status that you wanted. Maybe you haven't. Regardless. Social mobility is a good thing. It frees you up to do more things you want to do. But it's better, even than those things, to not belong to any groups. This frees you up, in fact, to maintain, to develop and maintain your own way of glowing. You can glow your own way more readily and easily this way. Also, you're more free to form your own beliefs. Right? When you're not under the influence of some group of people's group thought. Also, this frees you up to get along with all people, to develop rapport with all people. Now, yeah, it may hold you back in that regard as well, especially when it comes to certain groups. Some groups don't really want to fraternize much with people who aren't part of the group. It's up to you to decide whether for you, with respect to any specific group, that works as a plus or a minus. But in large, the general rule is, don't join any clique. Don't join any group. Therefore, you can get along with them all, as a rule. I recall that when I lived in New York City, in my late teens to my late 20s, through to my late 20s, I hung out a lot. It was the place to do that. I had like a home base where I hung out. I lived in what was called Alphabet City at the time, now called the Lower East Side. My home base for hanging out was at the corner of 8th Street, otherwise known as St. Mark's Place, in that neighborhood, and Avenue A. On a certain corner there, one of the corners there. Well, right around there in that neighborhood all kind of congregating. There were many different cliques. Skinheads, Jesus freaks, Rastafarians, Jesus Rastafarians, Jesus skinheads, punk rockers, all manner, okay? Mohawks, you name it. There were many there. Motorheads, many cliques. And in many cases, they pretty much stuck together with those of their own clique. Not in all cases. Sometimes there was antagonism among these cliques. You could even call them, what do they call them? Gangs. But they weren't, like territorial gangs. I got along with them all because I didn't belong to any of them. I wasn't an outcast to any of them. It just so happened to work out like that. I had affiliation with all of those people. They all respected me. They all respected the fact that I was able to stand on my own. I had 2 friends that I hung out with most. They were the same way. We weren't even our own clique, really, because we were often found off on our own physically, not together all the time. But they were my friends. They were my 2 friends. But we weren't a clique of our own. We had no name for ourselves. All the rest did. So I was freed up to just get along with all of them. Whereas the members of those others weren't that free to do so. They would get looked upon by the members of their own group a little oddly if they were found hanging out with the other one, another one across the street, a different one. Like, what's going on? Nobody asked me that. Nobody looked at me that way. I talked to whoever I wanted to talk to. I got cooperation from any member of any of those cliques, groups, informal organizations, who I got along with. Anybody who I got along with, anybody who I had a rapport with, I could ask any of them, hey, could you do this with me? Do you want to go do that together? The answer would be equally, sure. Because there were no parameters. I wasn't restricted like they were. I didn't belong to a group, so nobody else in their own group looked at them funny about it. Because I wasn't part of a different group. So my immediate point about all of that I just went through was, without such affiliations in your life, you can be more free to socially navigate horizontally. So, bear all of this in mind. If you don't want to, if you are your own person and you think you think you're your own man, you think you're your own person, you think you are your own woman, you think you are your own teenager, and yet you belong to some clique, group, organization, any such thing, the members of which, or as a whole, tended to identify themselves with the overall group and its set of beliefs, its methods of doing things, its presence in society, then you stand a good chance of being a little bit less of your own person than you think you are. While these things, these affiliations, can serve as stepping stones in your life, stepping stones to bigger and better states of affairs for yourself, in the end, they're more likely to serve as stumbling blocks. Limits. They have their limits. They will limit you. Someday, somehow. And by all means, if you start to identify yourself with those things, with those groups, then you're limiting yourself in a big way. Now, did you like the video? If you did, then remember, give it a thumb up. Did you dislike the video, but it had an effect on you? Then still, give it a thumb up. And if you feel like making a constructive and friendly comment down there below, then please do that too. And if you didn't do it yet, subscribe to the channel. It is in your own best interest. Activate the notification bell feature. Share the joy of the channel with others. This is Theron Q. Ramacharaka, and I am Turk Strongman. Now, go be well, and peace be with you.